If you are someone who feels like people do not listen to you and they do not really understand you when you are trying to explain something, if you have ever walked away from a conversation thinking, that's not what I meant, but I don't know how to explain it again. And if there are things you have stopped saying, not because they don't matter, but because it feels like no one really hears them anyways, then maybe this is something you have been carrying for a long time. If you were my niece, I would not start by giving you advice. I would listen to you because the truth is, most people in your life are not really listening to you the way you need. Not because they don't care, but because they don't know how. And that changes everything. What you actually need. A lot of time you don't need solutions. You don't even need clarity immediately. You just need space to say what is inside you fully. There's a difference between talking to get an answer and talking to understand yourself. Most people assume you are doing the first, but most of the time you are actually trying to do the second, which is talking to understand yourself. And when the second process is interrupted, something very important gets lost. Where it breaks. The moment you start speaking, people move ahead of you. They listen just enough to respond. They think, she needs advice, she's confused, she needs direction. But they don't stay long enough to see you are still forming what you are trying to say. It is like you are trying to untangle a thread, slowly, carefully, following where it leads. And just when you are about to understand the knot, someone pulls it out of your hands. Now, the thread is loose again, unclear again. After a while, you stop trying to untangle it in front of anybody else. You just carry the knot inside you. So what this does to your mind? When your thoughts are repeatedly interrupted, your mind adapts. You start explaining faster, simplifying what you feel, avoiding depth, and slowly you stop trusting your own expression. When expression is interrupted, the mind does not complete its processing, and an incomplete process creates internal tension. That tension is what you experience as overthinking, not confusion, not weakness, just unfinished thinking. So why you feel you are confused? When you say, I feel confused, look at it deeper. It's like trying to see your reflection in water, but the surface keeps getting disturbed. Someone responds too early, someone interrupts too quickly, someone tells you what you should feel and what you should do. The water never settles, so you assume there is nothing clear here. But your reflection was always there. It just did not get stillness. Clarity requires mental stillness, and stillness only happens when your mind is not being interrupted or redirected constantly. Now let's talk about the rare moment of being heard. There are rare moments when someone listens differently. They do not interrupt, they don't guide you too early, they just stay. At first, your thoughts feel messy, unstructured, but slowly something begins to happen. Like a snow globe that has been shaken, everything is moving, nothing is clear, but when it is left undisturbed, everything begins to settle. Clarity appears not because anything was added, but because nothing was interrupted and interfered. When you feel heard, your mind shifts from defense to awareness, and awareness is where clarity naturally forms. Why advice often does not help? Advice is not the problem, the timing is. Advice given too early interrupts your internal process. It adds external noise to an incomplete internal picture. That's why you hear advice and feel, I understand it, but it does not help. It did not help because you were not ready to receive it. So if you were my niece, I would not try to fix you. I would not try to guide you too quickly. I would sit with you and I would listen until you feel understood. Not until I understand. Until you feel understood. Because I trust something deeply. If you feel understood, you will not stay confused. You will begin to see on your own. And if in your life there is nobody who is able to listen to you in the right way, that does not mean something is wrong with you. It just means they don't know how. Not everyone has learned how to sit with somebody without trying to fix them. Not everybody knows how to stay when things are still unclear. But that does not mean you have to stay unheard and unclear. Sometimes, when no one is there to listen, what you actually miss is not a person, it is the moment where something inside you gets to be fully placed outside. Because most of your thoughts, they don't come clearly, they don't arrive complete, they come as something you are holding, a feeling, a half-formed thought, something that does not yet make full sense. So sometimes without even planning to, just begin to write, not to journal properly, not to be consistent, not to figure out everything, just to take what you are holding inside and place it somewhere in front of you. A sentence, a few words, something that feels closer to what actually is there. There is a reason this will feel different. When something stays inside your mind, you don't really see it clearly. You only feel it, you react to it, you carry it all along. But the moment you place it outside, even in a simple form, your relationship with it changes. Now you can look at it, not from inside, but from a little distance. And that small distance is where actually the clarity starts. Not because anything new was added, but because you are no longer carrying it blindly. Because the truth is, what you feel matters, not only when it sounds right, not only when others understand it, but even when it is unclear, even when it is still forming, it matters. And maybe you were never someone who needed more advice. You were someone who needed some space for what you feel so it could become clear in its own way, in its own time, and so that your thoughts can finally finish their own sentences.